First order of business, the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of 10/17/2022. Motion would be in order? So moved.
Second.
Any corrections, deletions? None? Those in favor? Okay, thank you. Public comments. Debbie, you want to say anything else? Nothing? Okay. Selectmen's comments? Alan, anything?
Just quickly, Kim, gonna announce, there will be a Veterans Day ceremony at Laurel Grove Cemetery on Middle Road on the 11th, Friday the 11th at 11 a.m. And that will be Roger Braun and the special event, us on the special events committee are organizing it. So it will not be at Quasit Meeting House.
Did Roger get a hold of you? He didn't come
Okay. That's it?
Ted?
I told
She's tough.
I'm good, I can't talk that.
Jason?
Just a few things, November 15th, MDOT meeting, 6 o'clock in the gym, just a reminder. Yeah, and we just met with Mr. Libby, and so we're all set with that.
What time's on the 15th?
6 p.m. 6 p.m. in the gym.
That's Tuesday, right?
Yep,
Mhm.
yep, we tomorrow. I just want to wish all the candidates good luck tomorrow. And I think we need to recognize the staff. It's been very crazy lately, and the staff has got a lot going on. And Kim and Opal and this new person, Marissa, right?
Marissa.
So that guy.
Marissa, yeah.
Anyway, that's really about it. I'm still working on the park items down here,
Okay.
but that's it.
I have nothing tonight. We'll move on. Road Commissioners report. Jack, anything
I
exciting?
really
going
have
on?
nothing. I've contacted that gentleman downtown 3 times, and he has not returned any of my calls. Secondly, I'm not going to vote to get on board with what has happened down there with the ditch that's dug, the mud, the dirt, and all that. Unless I am proven differently, we're not going to spend $1,000 of tax money to put a culvert into that. Okay? That's not the way we do things. So he's dug a ditch. This should have been spoke about before there was any excavation if we were going to be a party to it. And it's just a mud hole right now, and it would take quite a little bit to straighten it out to make it work. But like I say, I've called 3 times, left messages, and no one calls me back. So it's a done deal for the moment.
If that culvert isn't put it flat and straight, it's not going to work.
Well, I think if we heard the attorney correctly on Friday, I mean, he's already kind of put his hand on it.
He took ownership of it, as far as I'm concerned, by digging it all up.
Right, and with no communication.
Because he didn't need to dig it up. There was nothing gained by digging that ditch down through there and making a mess of mud and so on.
Do you know who dug the actually?
It was a friend of his, I don't know, it was a Kubota or some rig like that, it was nobody that I knew for a contractor guy.
Right. But it's all happened on his property.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if he actually had a contractor go in and do
No.
what they were doing, or if he just went and rented the machine and dug it.
No, he had some older guy there, but other than that, I don't know of anything, do you have anything, Kim, any problems or issues, no? Everything's
Good
good?
question for you. I noticed the guys about widening the old stage road by the lake a little bit.
Yeah.
You guys, is that just that section, or are you guys doing more of that road at all?
We're working on
I'm
it.
just curious, because I got a spot for you. You know Dana Mill Road, where
Yeah.
the Indian Road meets on that hill?
Where Denny Mill and Indian
You know
Road.
the, what's it
Around
called?
the
You mean
hill.
Indian, the private?
Indian
the
Drive,
private-
Yeah.
Right on that crest of that hill on the
Yeah.
inside of that corner?
Yes,
Lot of,
that was our second priority coming right up here.
okay, perfect.
We will be getting that. We're slowly getting it. They're kind of working their way along at a moderate pace,
Yeah, no, it looks good.
economical values.
It looks good. It looks really good.
Doing a real good job too.
Yeah.
Thank you, yes. Other than that, David, I have nothing else that I can think of.
Anybody have anything else for Jack? Okay, we'll move on. Codes officers report, we do not have a codes officers report tonight, but I'm going to jump down real quick before we move on to go to new business, and I think we should accept the resignation of our codes officer with regret. He's done a great job for us. It was great that he filled in for us.
So we'll
Those in favor? We should write in a thank you note.
Just want to be, clear to everybody that it was only gonna be till January anyway, so he's just leaving a
Right.
month early.
Right, and he's gonna stay on till December
Yeah,
1st.
okay.
So it'll only be 1 month.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get some people's, we're advertising the job now,
Yeah.
so hopefully we'll get some play on that. Okay. All right. So, let's go back up. EMS Director, Brian.
Since the last select board meeting, we had 11 calls, there were 8 transports, 3 no transports, we utilized MC1 twice. We've got some staff going to the Atlantic Partners Conference at the Samoset this week, and for some training opportunities. Other than that, continue moving forward.
Are you aware Lois Skillen's gonna be here at our next meeting to talk to us?
Okay, no, we're gonna start on Wednesday regardless, so.
I'm sorry?
Our first day that we're signed up to do transfers is this coming Wednesday, and we're gonna start doing those. And we've done it in the past, so we're just gonna keep moving forward.
But what about this contract?
There's no contract signed, so
Just do it under the previous.
we're just gonna do it the way we've always done it, and the town's basically gonna forfeit the $1,250 in revenue from that, and we're gonna abide by the obligation that we agreed to. So we'll have 2 extra staff on that day. We get any transfers, we'll cover them, and we'll get the revenue from them, and that's where we'll be.
She's coming on at our next meeting to explain to us how this whole system works. They've bought an ambulance, the hospital has bought their own ambulance.
Good.
And so far, the City of Bath, Pittsburgh,
Bluefield Harbor, is doing
Bluefield
it 2
Harbor,
days.
and Brunswick,
Not Brunswick.
not Brunswick.
No, Brunswick is doing the emergency transfer. I had a nice conversation with her, and she was telling us about what the long-term plan is to create their own system, which I guess has been in the works for 2 years. And as you pointed out, right, Northeast has been doing less and less for them. So it was good to get that background, and she's happy to come and chat with us. And kind of, also, we didn't hear anything back from the attorney about the
No,
MOU.
we haven't heard
right?
anything back from the attorney about the
Okay.
contract or any of that stuff, so, all right, so we'll take it up 2 weeks tonight.
So you'll be using the old ambulance for these transports?
Depends on what comes in the requirements of the patient and things like that. If it's a obese patient, I'm not gonna send rescue 2 and require staff to lift them, so we can send rescue 1. Depends on what the call is for.
So are we signed up just for this Wednesday?
We're signed up for every Wednesday for the month of November.
Is that something that the board wants to do?
No, quite frankly, it's not something I want to do. I think we should hold off until we meet with Lois.
I'll take a vote from the select, like that voted on by the select board. It's something we've already agreed to do. It's something we've done in the past. Nothing.
Yeah, so it's no different than the transports that you've done in the past.
Yeah, but wait a minute, it is different. Aren't there transports in the past, like if we were available and they had a transport? I don't remember us talking about committing ourselves to a 12-hour period.
We've, I could go back and look and when to work when it was, but for, probably 3 or 4 months, we had, last fiscal year, we had extra staff on Wednesdays.
That was never communicated to us.
Okay.
I mean, I think what you did is you asked us if it was okay to do a few transports, and we said, yeah, maybe local if available, but I don't think we knew we were scheduling for transports. I mean, I'm just trying to recall. I thought the idea was if they called and said, hey, we can't get anybody, we need somebody taking the windshield green or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't realize that if I chose to put extra people on for a day, that needed select board approval, so.
I think
If that's,
the concern is the activity is not the activity that, customary activity that we do. You know what I mean? I mean, it's, oh, no? Am I-
I'm struggling, really struggling with this. I have understood for the last 5 years that I've been in this position and that that I am basically in this position. I'm failing to see, or I guess I'm struggling with how much direct involvement the select board is going to have with the ambulance service. That seems to be changing significantly. So I guess I'm struggling with that right now.
It's our understanding at this point that the hospital is going to require a contract, and it would be up to us to sign the contract, not up to you.
I'm not signing the contract. We are gonna say, Midcoast Hospital, you keep your $1,250, thank you. You keep that. We'll staff the ambulance with the 2 people during the hours that we've agreed to do. We'll take in any revenue that comes forth from that, and that's how we'll operate. We've done that in the past.
But we didn't know that, I don't think,
I told the board in the past that we've increased staffing on Wednesdays to help out with transfers. I know I've told the board
I mean, Brian, we learned the other night that an ambulance went to Fort Kent. I don't think anybody on the board knew that we had ambulance.
And that's my question. That speaks to exactly what I just said. How much direct involvement
Direct.
is the select board going to have with the day-to-day operations of the ambulance service?
That's a good question.
Well, I really think that we should have known that we had an ambulance up in Fort Kent, yeah. I think
For a
we should.
Woolwich resident, you guys have always said, if it's for a Woolwich resident, make it happen. So for a Woolwich resident, you want me to wake you guys up at whatever hour of the night to say, hey, we just got called for a Woolwich resident to go up to Fort Kent. We've got the staff, we've got the crew, we're available to do it. You want, I mean, what do you want?
So
You
this
want
was
us to
somebody
start calling you?
transported from Woolwich to Fort Kent? or
No,
from
he
the
was a
hospital?
Woolwich resident that was at Midcoast Hospital and went to, needed a transfer up to Fort Kent.
But obviously it's a transfer, it's a non-emergency call.
Correct.
And so you, it's not, what I mean is it probably wasn't at middle of the night. Or it may have been, I'm just saying.
So,
I don't know, I guess we just.
no, that's fine. Let me explain how this works. So, Midcoast says, hey, we need to get this patient to another hospital that's equipped to treat this patient. And they put a message out to all these hospitals. And then Fort Kent calls and says, yep, they need to be here by this time. So whatever time that is, we're going. I'm not gonna start making phone calls for permission to do transports. I'm not.
But somebody has to call you though. You know, it's how do you get to that point where they know that that you're even willing to do it? In other words, we weren't doing these.
They call me and say, hey, are you available? I get phone calls all the time. Sean gets phone calls all the time. Julie gets phone calls all the time. We turn them down for the most part, but this was several months ago when we had extra crews available on Wednesdays. Which, and I don't even remember if this was one on a Wednesday or not, but it was one when the board said, hey, if they're not that frequent, go ahead and do them. Especially if it's for a Woolwich resident.
But you just said it, it's not that frequent. But if we're doing 1 day a week of transfers, that obviously is a whole different kind of, I mean, if you're signed up for, which it didn't even say that in the paperwork that you needed to commit 4 weeks ahead of time. The paperwork says.
I think he did say
Yeah,
that.
it did
No, no,
say
let me-
dates are available.
Right.
You have to sign up for your dates a month and ahead of
All right, okay.
it. Scheduled for January.
But I mean,
by
we
the end
didn't
of November.
talk about it, so I guess we didn't know we were doing that. I mean, so what's changed? What's back up?
What's
I can't-
changed?
No, no,
A
no,
whole lot
no,
has
no, no,
changed.
wait a minute, let me talk a minute. What's changed? You said there was no contract involved. We find out Friday there is a contract, so let's go back to the no contract. If nothing's changed, then why did you tell us? Is it because of the $12.50 or because you want to change the wages?
What do you mean, what's
Well, why did
so
you-
what
why-
time frame are we talking about
No,
what's changed?
why did we meet last Wednesday? We met to go over, your email
Right.
before that time was, hey, we got an opportunity to get $1,250.
Yeah.
Be available for 9 to 9 on Wednesdays with 2 people.
Yes.
And I want to change my wage structure for that day. Is that why we met?
We met because I asked the legality of changing the wage scale, because I had a question as to whether it was legal, and everything else that happened from that, it was not in my email. My email was specifically about the legality of that.
Right, but then it turns out there is a contract and there is
Right.
other.
Yep.
I don't know, I mean, what's the rest of the board think?
I'm just surprised we're doing it before I thought we were waiting to hear back from the attorney about the legality of everything, and we were gonna meet with Lois Skillins. She was gonna explain how all this was gonna work, and I thought then we were gonna start. I didn't know we were starting before any of that happened.
Well, one of the parts about the contract or MOU that they're calling it is that includes the extra pay,
Right.
right? And so that's not happening, obviously that's not happening until we sign something. Right, so, yeah.
So this coming Wednesday, do you have to commit to a 12-hour day?
I've already committed.
Okay. So we're gonna be paying somebody for 12 hours whether they get a call or not? Is that the way it works?
That's the way it always works, David.
The standby pay.
That's the nature.
Right, and then we're
Right,
gonna
because
call.
that's the answer to my one question was no, you cannot increase your availability or standby pay to the amount that I suggested. And so, okay, so we're gonna just have 2 extra people on at the rates which we normally have people on. And if a transfer comes in, we will send the truck out, do the transfer, send the bill out to the insurance companies and receive any revenue that comes from that. And we'll politely decline any money that Midcoast wants to give us in excess of that.
So how are we paying their salaries if we're gonna, or their
We
standby pay, how are we gonna pay
In our
for that?
budget,
out of
From
our
our
budget.
budget?
Yeah.
So we have enough in our budget to have 2 extra people on Wednesdays?
Yeah, it's $250.
when would you have to notify them of December?
By the end of this month.
Okay,
Or excuse me,
no,
no, it would have been by the end of,
okay,
October, right?
yeah, but
okay, all right.
The disservice of not following through with that is so strong. I'm not staffing that truck on Wednesday with 2 people. It's such a disservice to the citizens of this community to not participate in this. I'm not, it's just not gonna happen. Yeah, I'm not allowing one of our residents to have to go sit in a waiting room because an ambulance isn't available to transfer another patient out of the hospital so that a resident of Woolwich has a bed to go into. That's the true decision that you're making right now, that you're trying to dictate to me right now.
I think you raise a good question about this conversation about like how involved do we want to be in these day-to-day decisions. That obviously, I mean, things do seem to be changing. You have done transports in the past. I'm inclined at this point to let these go forward to the end of the month, and like I said, we'll see Lois in a little bit. It's not. I don't think it's a difference in. It's not. To me, the major change was the payment, right? And I'm just sort of thinking out loud here because I didn't think we were going to talk about it today. Is the payment, if this is something that we have done and been paid for, reimbursed for, provided services for, I'm okay with that. But that, again,
Because the money out of these transfers will be coming from Medicare or Medicaid or whatever they're signed up for, right?
But, so it's like normal, it's a billing money and you're paying out of your payroll. No wage changes for anybody, right? When's the last time you did a transfer?
I don't know, I looked it up.
No, we
Looked
didn't
it up
do
on
it.
Friday.
No, but we didn't do one last Wednesday.
No,
No,
no, I haven't had,
This is the first time you'll be on Wednesdays, right, for 12 hour? So you did one Friday, but you weren't dedicated to a 12-hour period though, right?
we didn't do a transfer.
No, I thought you just said you did one last Friday. Okay, so this is new though. What I'm trying to reiterate is you're obligating Woolwich to a 12-hour period on Wednesday. You get the money.
Restarting something that we did several months ago when the hospitals asked us to do the
But
same thing.
we were obligated for a 12-hour period?
Yeah, every Wednesday, actually, that was 24 hours.
Yeah, it was a full day.
Okay,
Those were full 24-hour slots on every Wednesday that we had done, and it was the precursor to this. There was no extra money coming from Midcoast. It was,
help me
hey,
out.
can you help us out? We've got this big problem. And we said, absolutely. It makes absolute sense for us to do that. We were doing it, Wisconsin was doing it, Pittsburgh was doing it, Boothbay was doing it. Yeah, absolutely. So we did that for 6-8 weeks or so. The FEMA trucks came in. We then stopped because the FEMA trucks were here, and we haven't been asked to do it again until this all started to come forth with, hey, Midcoast is gonna give you money to put a crew available, and however, whatever you do with that extra money, that's up to the town. And so we're not, Pittsburgh's paying almost $1,000 out of that $1,250 to the 2 employees. We're not looking to do anywhere near that. And so we're reducing the tax burden on the townspeople by doing this. Okay, so Midcoast would be paying us $1,250, 3 transports, which is what they said it would likely be. That was the average of the FEMA trucks. And the bare minimum that we brought in on a transfer was from Midcoast Hospital to Avita, which is on the base, was $265. So let's round down to $250. We're at $2,000 in revenue. For what? For the town to pay $250 in additional standby pay. A couple dollars extra in, maybe $100 extra to type the reports and run the call. I'm up to $350. And the town, there's some extra Medicare, Maine care, I get that, but it's nowhere near the $1,600 in potential revenue to the town. So this is reducing the tax burden of the town by doing this. It's
You mean with the con,
yeah,
Contract.
with
Yeah,
the
yeah, okay,
contract.
yeah,
Without
yeah,
the
yeah,
contract,
yeah,
it's a little less. It's still
right.
it's still
No, I thought you were,
something, but
okay.
it's a little less.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
still going to see $300-400 even without the extra money coming from the hospital.
So are we gonna plan on meeting at 5 that night? Or do we wanna meet at 5 the next meeting?
Yep.
Will that work for you?
I don't think I gave Lois a time, but 5 seems.
I can't commit to that right now. I might be out of state. I don't know.
Okay. All right, I guess it is what it is.
I mean, and on that note, Allison, you certainly brought it up. My job description still says that I have to meet with the transporting ambulance service on a every other month basis. So if the
Okay.
board wants to update my job description, feel free. Hasn't been updated since we were dealing with Northeast.
Fire chief's report, Sean.
All right, I've got, made 6 calls since the last meeting. I've got a new member application here for you. He's gonna be a junior. Get him signed on board to start with the junior program. He's actually got one other friend too that was looking to possibly join that I've urged him to send my way. I did hand out another application to another junior who's looking to join, lives over by us on Dana Mill Road. Waiting to hear back from him. I heard from, what's his name? Anyway, the gentleman that Dale mentioned last meeting,
Oh, yeah.
we've been conversing.
On Town Strasser.
Yep. He's gonna come meet with me, I believe, next week. He said he'd reach back out when he's available, chatting briefly. He's got some credentials that are really good skill sets. So we're gonna see if we can get him on board, and he'd have to work on getting his challenging Maine EMS to get his state license, but I don't see any issues with that. And I think he could be a real good asset to us anyway. EMS and fire, he's got some fire experience as well. He's been a flight medic, he's been an ER nurse, and I believe he's not a doctor, but a nurse practitioner, I believe, as well. So,
He acted smart.
oh yeah, he's in the brief.
Way
In the
over.
brief messages we've conversed, I can tell he's
That's
been
a
in
quote from
depth.
the paper.
He really was.
So that's exciting. I passed around my billing. You'll notice in there, hose testing bill. I'm happy to say that we had out of 8,140 feet of hose that was tested, not a single length failed.
Nice.
That was
Is
the
that
first
what
time.
you're doing up at the church?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent news. So that's that. I'm finishing up the forestry grant this week. So I'm just looking for some approval from the board on the ability to spend up to $5,000 in matching for that grant. It's a $5,000 grant to the state. It's a matching grant, so the max that they'll give you is $5,000. I don't anticipate that. I've got one quote here.
What's it, what's it for?
So I'm looking at a portable pump.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a portable pump. We have one portable pump for forestry. It proved very valuable in Georgetown this summer and a couple other instances. So I'm looking for another pump with the setup, so the suction lines, strainers, all everything that comes with it, as well as some we would be classified as forestry supply line, 2.5-inch hose, which under them they classify that as supply line. I got a quote for 300 feet of that. It's not as bad as I was expecting, so maybe increase that to like 600 feet. And then as well as probably some PPE for forestry stuff. We have a need for some pants, especially maybe some jackets, but pants in particular for the folks to be wearing in the fight forestry fire. This quote is for 42, rounded up 42.50 for the pump, hose, and needed connections and such. We would be tasked with half of that. So, like I said, I'm maybe a little bit more when I hear back from. I'm waiting for one more quote on the PPE, but I don't anticipate that being over $500 or $600. So, can I get some approval on that? Like I said, it wouldn't be over $5,000, but I don't anticipate.
The 5,000 is the total expense.
That's what the state is willing to match.
No, right, so there'll be up to $5,000,
Yeah.
and we have
So we would have to match that at 5,000. So we could get up to $10,000 worth of gear
Yeah.
for 5,000.
But your expenses right now are only gonna be 5 or 6.
Right now, this quote is only at 4,200, so we'd be less than that, so it'd be $2,200.
Right, that's okay, so I mean.
Yeah, so I anticipate that might go up, maybe 1,500.
Yeah,
That'd probably be the max, so.
we have the article, right? We already have the matching grant article.
We have the matching grant article, yes. So this is new equipment you're adding, right?
Yeah, this is new equipment. We had, one of our floating pumps had some issues this summer. Glenn and Donnie are gonna be working this winter on some parts. They gotta it's old, they don't make parts for it anymore. So they're gonna try to make I think it's a muffler piece or something. So they're gonna try to work on that, but I'm looking at, adding this new pump. We really like the one we got. We got this other pump that we have downstairs. We got it out of the grant, similar. And we might got it 2 years ago, and it's proved to be a very valuable piece of equipment. So.
Do you have the means to deploy 2 pumps?
Oh yeah. I've got one on one truck, and we could certainly put the other one on the other forestry truck downstairs. So.
Go for it. But, yeah. I don't know if we've used any of that grant money, have
Well,
we? The matching grant?
We have
money?
the- we have
We had some down at
for the park,
down
yeah.
at the park.
yeah, but we can only use 5,000 for it because it was a 75-25. The state's giving us 15,000. We had come with 5, So there's still-
The article's usually what?
10,000?
I think we raised it to 40,000. Does that sound right?
Yeah, we did.
We raised the article to
Oh,
40,000
okay.
for grants.
Yeah, we can cover that.
Okay. And PDQ door, they're waiting on me. I've got North Station, there's the first bay at the North Station, there's a piece of trim work that's rotted out and it was rubbed at some point.